I noticed I haven't really been the best content creator recently. Aside from the funny equals humor, I haven't uploaded for the last 3 months, so I thought I'd share the meetings I've explored throughout that time. Most of you would probably not care, but I honestly think it would be a good idea for a video, since I have no other video ideas but this. So I woke up one day and said, "Hey, today I want to play Castlevania." And you know what? It turned out to be actually pretty fun. There's just something so satisfying about one-shotting your opponents with a whip. You know, swords, swords, swords. I've used it in a lot of games. I'm a pretty big fan of it. But I never used the whip before. There's just something so great about hitting your opponents from a distance. It's so fun. And the level design for its time is just interesting. And the characters. They got Medusa. They got the Mummy starring Brendan Fraser. They got my boy Frankenstein. Not the Frankenstein that I remember, but it's Frankenstein. Is that?
Is that the Grim Reaper?
Hold on. Wait a minute. Is that the guy who says blah blah blah? Oh, and a bat. A big bat. Just a big bat. Since I'm already reviewing all of the Castlevania games, I might as well just do every single game. This is gonna be a fast round. Simon's Quest. This game will always be iconic for having a certain nerd get so pissed at it, he ended up pioneering gaming channels. Man, people hate this game. I can't seem to find any who think this game is great. You know what else I can't find? The stuff I'm supposed to do in this game! The things I'm supposed to do is obscure, oblique, and a complete obstacle. Oh. But I'll give this game credit, because it gives off a vibe never to be seen in any of the games. Reckless Curse. Hard. This game was made by Germa, and if it wasn't, it was probably made by some sadistic, psychopathic maniac who wants people to suffer. Aside from that, it's Castlevania 1, but longer and has more variety, like choosing which levels to do. Super Castlevania 4. Unfortunately, I could not find the first 3 Super Castlevania games. That being said, this game is really good. There's a full range of motion and it utilizes the hardware's capabilities so well. Swing to all 8 directions is something the series will never be able to see again because all Belmonts doesn't know any other angle aside from left and right. Jekyll X. I heard Rondo of Blood is a better game. And playing this, I already believe it. It's well animated and it moves smoother, but it's not creative enough, unlike Castlevania 4. But, it's Castlevania. It's Castlevania. Castlevania 64. People hate this game. I played it a long time ago and never again. But I'm just gonna say, I enjoyed this game. And for the N64, they nailed a 3D dark fantasy game. Ladies and gentlemen, Symphony of the Night! This game is so good! The music, the gameplay's Michael Jackson! The only thing wrong with this game is that it's PS1. The voice acting is like very good.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
I feel like Symphony of the Night is like the Ocarina of Time of Castlevania, where ever since its release, the games after it just started doing its formula and never went back. Circle of the Moon is a step down from Symphony of the Night's gothic style due to Game Boy limitations, and offers visuals that are too dark and rough. Your character is very slow. Add on to the fact that invincibility frames here last less than 3 seconds, and then add on to the fact that the bosses have an unnecessary amount of health, and then add on to the fact that Power of 2 that this game is very RNG based. How do you counter this? You use card combinations that grants you abilities, which is honestly the most interesting part of this game. But where to get them? It's also RNG based, so I can't even bother to get them! But this is a good game. Trust me. Harmony of Dissonance. In contrast to Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance turned the brightness way up. My eyes! I can see it! Actual colors in a dark themed cave! there's an infinite dash and it's super fun, and honestly the best part. This game actually has less invincibility frames than Circle of the Moon, but your character is so fast you won't even notice. But the levels are pretty lame, in contrast to the previous games. But it's Castlevania! It's Castlevania! Aria of Sorrow. Now this is a game that actually got this right. It has a dark atmosphere and a lighter atmosphere without dipping its feet on both. Out of all of the games I played, this one has the most weapon and armor variety. You play as Soma, who is hungry for cheese baguette. The catch is that you can absorb enemy abilities, and after finally getting screwed over by Apsaros and Medusa, it's finally I can give them what they gave out against them. The catch ability is through chance, but unlike the RNG problem through Circle of the Moon, having a capture ability and making it through chance makes engaging opponents much more meaningful and exciting. And that's it. I have not played the PS2 and DS games yet. I apologize, but I didn't stop there. I also at least watched the Castlevania anime. I don't get why this video game adaptation is so good, but it's really a sign that we are living in an age where good video game adaptations can exist. It captures Castlevania's atmosphere and theme so well, and it's powered through effective writing and voice acting, turning Dracula from a typical villain to one of the most sympathizable villains. A man who gave human life a chance, but was ultimately betrayed by it, and now he grows tired of everything.
Fine then. I'm tired, Isaac.
A man who had everything taken away from him, as he continuously reflects on the past. It begs the question, are we humans who are considered good people, are the ones that are actually good at it? Oh, and there's death.
I'm going to eat your soul, shit it out, and use it to smother your fucking girlfriend to death. You gulping little shit.
After I finished the original NES Castlevania trilogy, I played games of the NES while I was at it. There's this game I despised but never beaten. Zelda 2. I hate Zelda 2, so I wrote this poem to show my love for it, and what I feel after I just played it. Oh Zelda 2, how much I hate you. Not because of your difference, but because of your incompetence, complete with utter insanity, levels filled with inhumanity, and yet I came back and looked at what you had to offer. Even though you put me in the suffer, I still put up with your crap, Zelda 2! I saw how you were truly unique. The concept is truly a magnifique. The combat is tedious. You truly had a good concept with great execution, to be ruined by that combat! Ah! Disclaimer. Smash Bros is filled with the most beloved characters from different iconic video game series, and one of the said characters from Smash Bros is the Ice Climbers, which is from the series Ice Climbers, which only consists of one game. Gameplay is the same, would be pretty fun if I had someone to play with, but let's be honest here, we have no friends for that. It's pretty good if you won't get bored, but the controls are pretty slippery. Duck Hunt. The gun won't work, but I bet I'd be pissed if it did. Mario Bros in the arcade. It's hard to believe that when people ask, what was the first Mario game? People will say it's the famous 1985 NES title, Super Mario Bros. Wrong. And some will argue it's Donkey Kong. Wrong again, dummy. It's this. Although Donkey Kong did first feature Mario, this was the first ever game to be titled Mario Bros. Although it doesn't have Super. Wanna know why it doesn't have a Super? Because this game isn't very super. Similar to Ice Climbers, this would be better off playing with a friend, but we all know we have no Luigi in your life. In the 80s, this would be a game everyone would relish over, but there really is not much reason to play it now aside from you being bored. Here's a game similar to Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden. You one-shot opponents, only this time it's faster and harder. Same things I said to Castlevania can be applied here. Only difference is that the storyline sucks. This game actually reminded me that my favorite part in any media is the story. But I can understand why people in the 80s thought writing this would be cool. Look! It's ninjas with aliens! Let's talk Super. Super Smash Bros, Super Mario, Super Nintendo, Street Fighter 2, absolute classic that everyone who loves fighting games should play. Unfortunately, I suck complete ass at it. never actually finished this. I got lost. Even so, the atmosphere is incredibly convincing and thick, and genuinely creates the feeling of alien. If I came back to it I'd probably finish it, because this game is great. When the first opens, here's a song that I listened to too much recently. Rio deserves an award for making this. Speaking of songs, I stumbled upon a Backstreet Boys song and ended up listening to their Black and Blue album. Not gonna lie, it was pretty good, but I can't talk about it because it's copyrighted, so here's footage of a monkey dancing to Fard remix as compensation. After the torment I felt after playing Genshin Impact, I didn't want to commit to another gacha game. But fine, here's Blue Archive. It's simple gameplay wise, but solves every single problem I had with gacha wise. Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorite shows out there, okay? And now that the manga returned, I decided I'd read it, and it's still incredible. The next two arcs are so complex, even I don't fully understand them. But complexion in the story really gives expansion and immersion to the audience and makes them ask, did a person really write this? Another show known for their expansion to their world is Made in Abyss. Story goes, I actually stumbled upon the author's old Pixiv account while I was looking for 2007 artworks. And he's been drawing the concept of Made in Abyss before it was even released. Passion like that convinced me to read it. And if there's one thing I can say, this manga does not hold back in child abuse. It also features a gripping world full of interesting details and creatures. You know what I love? I have no idea. How can I be a content creator if I can never be contented? So one day I decided to read this manga along with another from the same series. Let's start with this one. The catch of this is that it's basically Among Us, but the characters are from my favorite series ever. And since this manga has characters from my favorite series ever, it already gets plus points. The other one features the same characters, but this time the plot is like a monster of the week kind of thing. This manga genuinely has one of the best artworks I have ever seen, and for a manga of a much bigger series, the story is thought-provoking and continues to expand on the world of Fumos, and it occasionally teaches interesting stuff. At one point, it taught me how to poison someone, like legit. And yes, this is interesting. Renai Flops, harem anime.
Hey, Baggy?
So I wanted to watch more Western shows. I exposed myself on anime for the past 3 years too much. This isn't even a Western show that aired on TV, I think. It's only in YouTube. But the animation is so expressive, the characters and the setting are interesting. A lot of people complain about the jokes and innuendos, but this show is very open about what kind of demographic they're going for. Also, this is just a pilot. Full series comes out 2023. Crazy stuff happens unexpectedly. Meanwhile, Genshin Impact created the characters so attractive, I ended up installing the game again. I actually did that after Neo's banner ended, so I just visited for a while, looked up what's up with that new region, and just didn't play it again. The Game Awards. You know what sucks is that when two series you absolutely love have to compete for the title of Game of the Year. Dark Souls is my favorite game series gameplay-wise, and my second favorite game series overall. While God of War was a series I got so invested in the past that it was the reason I learned mythology, and to see these two games compete breaks my heart. I have not actually played these. I'm poor. I can't play them. But from what I can actually tell, God of War Ragnarok really expands on its already charming world, while Elden Ring is taking the next step in open world games. Elden Ring won. So, when Miyazaki was getting his award, this kid snuck on stage, waited for him to finish his speech, and dominated something. I have to give him credit though, he was respectful enough to actually let Miyazaki finish his speech. Also, I love how he just went up there and nobody questioned what the hell he was doing up there. They all thought he was one of the developers, but even the developers themselves didn't even ask. I can't believe this happened. At one point, I woke up and decided to go on a spree listening to creepy ass Vocaloid songs. I already know about. I don't think A song with themes like this should be sounding this good, but Kiko has done a really good job here. By far, the scariest song I know is Crushed Mary, which is based off from the actual murder of 4-year-old Marikono. The suspect was a killer, Tsutomu Miyazaki, or better known as the Otaku Killer. I honestly like this song because to me it's genuinely scary. There is no creepy story going on, just the sound of silence and unsettlement until by the end of the song, where it just distorts. And only when you look up the story behind it do you realize what the song just represented. It's a song centered on a horrific real-life tragedy, where its horrors are conveyed by nothing but the music itself. 私あなたに恋するために生まれたのかしら This song slaps! The instrumentals are perfect for Halloween and the tuning just creates a deep voice psychopathic Miko, which for the time this was released, not everyone can manipulate Vocaloid tuning like that. It slaps. It slaps, okay? Let's talk about someone I love much more than Miku. Rin. Fear Garden. This song is so weird. The song just takes on so many levels of styles. She starts counting 1 to 10 but forgets 8 and 9 exist. Next it becomes an actual song, and then after that Rin just becomes a lawnmower. The actual scary part is in the end, where it just shows Rin's happy days with her friends, as she repeats, only lies, there are only lies here. She lives a seemingly innocent and happy life, but her friends and teachers is unknowingly unaware of her true nature until she just stabs them in the back. Although I will admit, her garden is quite sick. Oliver always gets the creepy songs for some reason. Steam Pianist does a very good job in tuning him and having an instrumental that sounds like a lullaby. What makes this unsettling, of course, is the same thing with Crushed Mary, with it being based off of a real-life story, where this one is centered on the murder of Gracie Budd from the serial killer Albert Fish. Music-wise, I don't find it more unsettling than Crushed Mary, but in context it's worse due to the fact that not only Gracie Budd's murder, but Albert Fish and what he did to his other victims. In general, it was truly sickening. I can't tell you the stories, but there are reliable sources and documentaries covering the incidents. The Witch's House, MV. This is a remake of a 2012 game with the same name, and because it's like a 2012 game, it plays like a 2012 game. I actually really enjoyed it. I think theme and atmospherically this game gets it. It's only like an hour long and you should play it, but I would like to point out that because this was originally from 2012, it plays like a 2012 game. The traps are a little too random, which really hinders the potential of the great points it got for it. Overall, it's really worth playing for that ending. Frog. I was searching for an art that I love that I could not find again, and it led me to this. It's from 2005. I feel nostalgic when I see it. It's just surreal and clear, and it gives off this liminal vibe to it. The artist, Aika Watoma, has also done another art like this, although I do prefer this one. It gets me nostalgic for a time I wasn't even in. You know, my TUYU video, it's a little outdated now. 2 new songs came out during that time. Overcast Skies and What Sort of Ending Are You Wishing For? Look, do I have to pretend a review or something? It's TUYU. It's always been great, so here are my favorite parts. I've started the show as long as my last upload and I still haven't finished it yet. But I will be real here and say this show is actually a really good detective show. Look, just goth, plus anime, plus detective story. You just get a dream combination. For a 2008 show, its art style keep it different from the shows that came out during the time. And the opening is honestly just worth watching the show for. It's a game I have not finished ever since I was a kid. Shadow Fight 2. This game is just stingy and unfair, forcing you to constantly grind it out, which really ruins the gameplay because the fighting, despite only having one character, never gets stale because there's such a huge variety of weapons. But because the game is so stingy and the upgrades are so expensive, you are forced to just play on a fixed route, which is, level up, buy the next gear, even if the weapon is absolutely a pain to use. Not to mention the energy system, which is 2014 shit. And if you don't have the right gear, the enemies can just one or two shot you. All of this combined led me to never finishing it, despite playing it too much as a kid. Well, now, I did. And it sure was a long ride. I am a vampire. I would never go outside. The second vitamin D gets into my skin, I am just disintegrating. So it's a miracle that for the first time in my life, I actually went to a local anime convention. Going outside was a lot better than I thought. I can't show off pictures, but I did buy Hunter x Hunter and Love is War manga, and a few figurines, a big Waddle Dee plush. There was only one place where I found stuff from my favorite series ever, and it was 6 hours of it. I was actually deprived for content from my favorite series, so when I saw it, I was shaking out of excitement. And there was this kid beside me who started to back off when I did that. I probably scared him off. People like me truly are a dangerous species. I got to take pictures of cosplayers and got to meet my best friend again. Pretty cool. An artist I know released their first album, and I am honestly glad for them. Their music has definitely improved over time to the point where it's now on the same level as artists I listen to. One day, these artists will finally master their work and can convey their full potential into the medium. Speaking of potential music, Bocchi the Rock is the best show for fall this year. Look, the shows of fall 2022 are as follows. The long-awaited return of Bleach after 10 years. The long-awaited adaptation of Chainsaw Man with passion and effort clearly shown by Mappa. The Part 2 of Spy Family, which was a show that got so popular in the first season, it blew up the internet's balls. In fact, during the anime convention, there was this girl, somewhere around the age of 5, with her father who had this exchange with him while pointing at a cosplayer. That's Anya's mom. Who is Anya? The little girl with the pink hair. When even a child of that age can recognize your character, you know you've reached big time. The long-awaited Part 3 of Mob Psycho, Season 6 of My Hero Academia with the long-awaited war arc everybody loves, Season 2 of To Your Eternity, which the first season used to be one of my favorite shows. And even after all of that, airing this season, I still prefer the Eurocamp spin-off of K-On! I just like the show, because it just got things right. As I grow older as an anime fan, the less I appreciate the more absurd ones. But rather, I appreciate the show that perfectly delivers on what it's trying to accomplish. TUYU JoJo is fire. I've read the manga beforehand and they honestly animated the Maid in Heaven arc beautifully. All the other arcs are great too. I think the charm of JoJo is not only are the abilities creative, but there's emphasis on attacks. This isn't fluid animation with 150 simultaneous attacks in 3 seconds. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but every attack here is emphasized to look meaty and serves as a fatal blow to another, as they try to figure out what to do next. JoJo is like the most manga-like manga, with a kapow and a sploosh to make you feel every attack, and to have an adaptation perfectly capture that is gratifying. I could probably make a video on JoJo one day. Won't be sooner, though. Part 6 is over. Part 7 is next.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
By far, the longest thing I've ever had to go through was this. I spent an entire month for it. I read the manga since it's faster. The meme actually got me to read it. Insane. I realized the longer the series, the more attached I can get. And it honestly pained me when I kept up with it. This is a long story that is fueled by its world expansion. There are so many diverse characters and islands and abilities and occasional foreshadowing that I wonder, how does this guy come up with all of it and still have more? Over 30 arcs, what can I possibly say about all of this? One Piece was just fun. Should you actually keep up with it? Absolutely, if you got the time. After a month of spending my time reading One Piece, you can't help but ask, is One Piece the ending? Or perhaps the characters? Or is it the journey? but we all know one thing.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
Which brings me to the last one I'll be covering today. Both TV and the internet's dearly beloved series, which turns his head on the viewers by not actually having a hero, but instead the protagonist is the villain. Can you believe it? This isn't the story of how Walter White saves the day. This is a story of how Walter White, despite everyone in his life willing to give out support for him, he refuses, and it leads to his downfall. Oh, and also he becomes Heisenberg in the process. Every scene is well played and thought out. Every character has a purpose, which is why, as hated as characters like Skylar White are, I never hated her up until that part with the pizza, where she does the most vile thing by refusing to accept Walt's pizza, so Walt throws it on his own roof. You must be the most twisted super villain to just ignore a free pizza like that. Like, look! It was pepperoni, for crying out loud! Breaking Bad is a character-driven roller coaster where they hired but the best writers to drive it and the best actors to write it.